Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled, "Neighbors made our lives hell for grass being too tall. Our malicious compliance made them shake with rage." My wife and I work opposite shifts, with her going into work early morning and getting home in time for us to hug and kiss, and then I am out the door for my job that takes me past midnight. I also work rotating weekends and I am on call during bad weather. We have 3 children, the oldest just finished preschool, so they are not old enough to be on their own. In the rainy season, our grass gets pretty long because in order for mowing to get done, both of us have to be home, so this usually gets done every other week, and that is if it doesn't also happen to be storming. So there are times the grass gets crazy. Both of our neighbors on either side of us are retired. They have all the time in the world to care for their lawn, but they hire people to do it for them anyway, and they look immaculate. Our lawn, aside from the length, is free of weeds. Bermuda grass tends to choke everything else out and is overall taken care of. So our neighbors, because they have nothing better to do, will call the city and report our lawn's unsightly length 2 or 3 times a month to try and motivate us to keep it cut. And we are talking the day after I let it go for a week because I happened to be on call that weekend. Now, I have spoken with both of my neighbors about the time constraints that my wife and I have. It would be one thing if we didn't have kids or if they were older and my wife and I could go out and mow when we have the time. But this has fallen on deaf ears. My typical work week is about 50+ hours in busy crunch time, which, of course, also occurs in the rainy/mowing season, but I assure them that when it is a clear day and we are both home, the yard work will get done. This, of course, once again falls on deaf boomer ears. One of them called me lazy, and that when they were young and married with kids, they worked 3 jobs and made it work, and I just don't take pride in caring for my lawn, blah blah blah. Another one suggested that I mow during the day while my wife is gone and let the kids run around in the yard while I do so. Yes, that sounds totally safe. No way a 5, 3 and 2-year-old are in any danger while I am pushing a mower with a spinning blade. There was one time I was trimming with my kids outside and our 2-year-old comes up and tries to stick his hand into the trimmer. Yeah, no, they need to be watched over while one of us is mowing. So of course I was angry at their response, but being a Midwestern American used to Midwest passive aggression, I got an idea. I'm just going to convert our backyard and alley into a garden. We are talking hanging gardens of Babylon levels of ostentatious. The tallest, bushiest and viniest plants I can find. We are talking pumpkins, sunflowers, corn, watermelons, berries and lavender. Even getting some stinky plants like onions, garlic and globemaster or cleome, which benefit the garden because they attract bees and hummingbirds and repel leaf-eating pests. The garden is going to be a thick boy, surpassing any length or bushy levels my grass ever got to. The added benefit is, while it is a lot of work to start up, going and pulling out weeds is something safe I can totally do during the day with the kids running around in the yard. Our fences on either side are chain link, so all the smelly plants and tall boys are going right alongside the property line of the neighbors. I am calling it my spied garden. Everything will have labels like curb appeal cucumbers and these peppers are permitted, and my personal favorites, jack off motion jalapenos, and the raspberry labels are a picture of someone blowing a raspberry, courtesy of my artistic wife. There are no city ordinances on gardens other than they cannot be in the front lawn, and as long as I keep it maintained and weeded, there is nothing the neighbor can do. And guys, if you have watched until here and enjoy the neighbor stories, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance, it really helps me tremendously. And the next one is titled, "Won't pick up your dog's poop and then steal from me, move out then." My SO and I were renting a ground floor unit at a really nice apartment complex. I wouldn't say it was a luxury apartment or anything, but our ground floor unit had a little patio off the back that led out into a really nice courtyard area with hammocks, a walking path, outdoor fireplace and seating area, etc. A lot of people walk their dogs out there or let their kids play out in the grass, including us. We have a 1-year-old Cane Corso. We got her when we had been living in the unit for about 2.5 months and she was only 8 weeks at the time. She's a really good dog and we trained her well. We could let her out to go potty and she would come right back even if there were distractions, people, dogs out. We always stood on the patio and watched her anyways because our pet agreement said we couldn't leave our dog unattended. Then we would go pick up her poop right away if she pooped, also part of the pet agreement as I'm sure is standard at most apartment complexes. We kept a small step trash can outside specifically for her poop bags because we didn't want to throw them away inside, and the only outside trash cans were on the other side of the building, which I agree is super dumb. It really was a small trash can, like the kind you would tuck into the bathroom between the toilet and the wall. We also had her poop bags hanging on our patio door handle for easy access, so we didn't have to hunt for them every time we needed them. This lady and her kid moved in on the ground floor in our building, 2 units down from us. No biggie, we ran into her one day carrying in groceries and my SO held open the door for her. She seemed kind of Karenish but was polite, and her kid, probably 10 to 11 years old, did not look up from his phone. After about 2 weeks or so, we realized that there were dog turds in the grass right off our patio. We found out the hard way because my boyfriend stepped in it the first time. Luckily, he was not barefoot. They were clearly not our dog's turds, as one, we always picked up her poop right after she went, and second, they were obviously from a small dog, not our 70-pound puppy. We had been in the apartment about 7 to 8 months at that point and had never had an issue with this, so we figured it was EM's little dog. I wrote her a polite note that basically was like, "Hey neighbor, we noticed that some of your dog's poop are not being picked up and are right off our patio. Per the pet agreement we all have to sign, we all need to be picking up our dog's poop each time they go. I'm sure it was an accident and you just didn't notice. So if you could make sure to do that going forward, we would appreciate it. Your neighbors in Unit X." She was not home, so I slipped it under the door and went back to my apartment. A couple hours later, this lady is banging on my door and gets really angry with me and insists that it couldn't have been her dog and how dare I assume that. I felt really bad and I apologized immediately, said I did not mean to offend her and it must have been someone else. She told me never to bother her with crap like this again and stormed off. I was like, okay. Not 3 days later, I was sitting on my patio with a book enjoying the cold weather when I see their little dog run out of their back door, no one with it, and it comes over to me. I said hello to the pup because I love puppies, and then it took a crap right off the patio, ran back home and scratched the door to be let in. I saw her kid slide the door open enough to let the dog in and then closed it again without coming outside to pick up the poop. I was annoyed because here I saw it with my own eyes that it was their dog and no one was even watching it when it was outside. So I grabbed a poop bag, picked up the poop, wrote another less polite note about her kid neglecting to watch the dog or come to check if it had pooped / pick up after it, and dropped the poop bag and the note on their patio right by the door and then went back to my reading. EM was quicker to come by this time and stomped right up to me, waving the note around, then stated that her kid was just a kid and probably just forgot to check. I said I didn't care, her kid was old enough to stand outside for 3 minutes and come pick up the dog's poop. She said, well, there is no poop bags and trash cans on this side of the building and she didn't feel comfortable making her kid walk all the way around the building for that. The next part is my own fault in hindsight. I suggested she put a trash can like mine on her patio and leave their own poop bags handy like we do for our dog. She eyed our stuff, huffed some more, rolled her eyes, refused to do anything about the poop and walked off. At this point, I was super annoyed. I stalked my patio door for the next couple days as much as I could, just waiting. And sure enough, on day 2 in the evening when I was about to give up, I see the puppy run outside towards my patio. I whipped out my phone, took some pictures of the dog outside alone, not allowed, and the dog pooping, and then took another phone an hour later of the poop still there, and timestamped all of them. Then I sent an email to the apartment office people, who were always pretty nice, and they responded quickly they would give her a warning about it. And sure enough, this lady comes back again to get mad and yell at me about how petty I was to report them to the office, and now they had a $150 fine for not picking up their dog poop. It is worth noting that these fines were rare. Poop prints were not used at this complex. In order for the office to fine someone for dog poop, they had to prove it was that specific tenant's dog's poop and that it wasn't picked up. Hence the photos I had taken and timestamped. I told her that I had tried to be nice about it with her twice before, and it was her own fault at that point for not abiding by the terms of the pet agreement we all had to sign, everyone who had a dog at least. She went off about how she is a single mom and she works during the day and her precious baby cannot be expected to pick up after their dog. I told her that a 10 or 11-year-old was plenty old enough to pick up after a dog, and if they were not responsible enough, then maybe the kid should not be letting the dog out at all. And instead she should be the one to do it, or maybe whoever is home with him should be looking after it. She got angry and told me I had no idea how to be a single mom, that her mom stays with him during the day and shouldn't be expected to look after her kid and her dog, and she stomped off again. I expected to hear more about it, but I didn't. The ironic part is, I am a single mom, my kid is not my SO's, and I raised him alone for 2.5 years before I met my SO, so yes, I do know how hard it is, and I live 1000 miles away from my closest family, so I never even had the luxury of being able to have my mom watch my kid. Over the next couple of weeks we didn't find any more dog turds off our patio, but we did notice our poop bags were depleting and our trash can filling up way more quickly than usual. I had my suspicions and wanted to test it. We had recently bought some small security cameras for inside of our apartment for different reasons, and I had my boyfriend set one up outside on the patio. We faced it where it could see our door and trash can, but didn't point to the rest of the courtyard or other people's units. We respect privacy around here. And sure enough, the same evening my boyfriend set it up, I see the kid walk onto our patio, take a poop bag, walk out of frame, and then come back to throw it in our trash can. Okay, now I am pissed, but also not trying to fight this lady or her kid, so I moved the poop bags to the inside door handle. It is a glass door, so you can still see them, but we always lock our sliding door. The next morning I hear someone knocking on the back patio door, and I got to see her kid standing there looking around. I didn't open the door, I just spoke loudly enough to ask what he needed. He demanded a poop bag for his dog's poop. I said I'm sorry, but these are our poop bags for our dog and they were not free for anyone else to use. The apartment provides poop bags in a dispenser near the trash can on the other side of the building. The kid started demanding a poop bag, saying his mom told him he could use ours, slapping his hands on the glass a few times, trying to scare me. Yes, I am so terrified of a 10-year-old boy, and finally screaming at me that he is telling his mother on me. I said fine, go ahead, I will tell her the same thing. Sure enough, a few minutes later his mom is standing on my patio, also demanding a poop bag for her dog's poop. I denied her a bag and asked her to please step off of my patio, as she was making me feel unsafe and uncomfortable because my SO was not home. She told me I was a bratty child, I am 24 by the way, and she demanded I let her use my poop bags as I had already told her she could before. I said no, I told you to get some yourself and do what I do, keep them close by and put your trash can on your own patio, not use the bags I buy with my own money for my own dog and then fill up my tiny trash can with your dog's poop. I pointed out she could use a plastic shopping bag if she didn't want to buy her own poop bags, or she could use the bags the complex provided on the other side of the building. She kept going off on me and I finally told her if she didn't leave my patio, I would call the police as she was harassing me. The apartment office was closed on Sundays and of course it was Sunday. She acted like she was going to call my bluff, but then my boyfriend got home and walked up behind me to ask what was going on, and she ended up dragging her kid away, again leaving the poop in the grass of my patio. So once she was gone, I took another timestamp picture of the dog poop, downloaded the footage from my security cam of her kid stealing my poop bags and throwing them in my trash can, and the footage from them that morning, yelling at me and demanding my bags and me denying them, and emailed all of it to the apartment management. I told them that she made me feel unsafe and uncomfortable in my own home, that she and her child felt entitled to come onto my patio and take my belongings. I also went outside, picked up her dog's poop, looked in the trash can on my patio and pulled out the bags with her dog's poop. They were significantly smaller than my ones, and as I'm sure any dog owners could tell the difference in poops of a 12-pound dog versus a 70-pound dog. I went and opened all the bags and dumped the poop straight on her patio right outside the door. On Monday, I heard back from the office lady who said she would take care of it, and by Friday there was a moving truck and the lady and her kid were moving out. Pretty sure they were evicted or at the very least urged to move before a formal eviction process was initiated. After talking to some of our other much friendlier neighbors, it turns out we were not the only ones who had been complaining about her. They had only lived in the complex for like 2 to 3 months before they made so many enemies that they were kicked out. Sometimes I think I should feel bad for playing a part in them getting evicted, but honestly, I cannot bring myself to feel guilty about it. Not my fault, as she was a lazy entitled woman who couldn't even be asked to get a shopping bag to pick up her dog's poop. I never heard from her about the turds I dropped on her patio, but I like to think she stepped in them without looking and knew better than to come complain to me about it. Also, by the way, I am sure they were given more than a week to vacate, as those are the tenancy laws here, but she packed up and left like a bat out of hell. Guess she didn't want to stay somewhere. She was clearly seen as an enemy. I don't know for sure that she was evicted or if she was just asked to leave or abide by the lease or what. Office cannot give out that type of info, and she and I were not exactly on speaking terms for her to give me this scoop about it. The next one is gonna be from r/ProRevenge and is titled, I froze my psycho neighbor out of her apartment. In college, my 2 friends and I decided to find a place together off campus. We found a beautiful 3-bedroom house with surprisingly affordable rent. The basement of the house was listed as a separate apartment, but as it had a separate entrance and the indoor stairwell had been blocked off, we were not worried. And the thermostat was upstairs. Then the demon neighbor moved in. From upstairs we could hear everything. This adult woman would call her mother and scream at her to pay for her cell phone bills and give her grocery money, aka Taco Bell and cheap tequila. She would scream at whatever guy she was sleeping with to bring her meth, and one day she brought home 3 puppies to scream at too. We were terrified of this woman and the noise was hell. Also, we had been idiotic enough to sign a lease stating we were responsible for all utilities, period. Meaning we were now financing her gas, water and electric. But with only 2 months left on the lease, we thought we could just ride it out. But then she started smoking. Constantly. According to the landlord, she had quit for good when she had signed the lease, but for good only lasted 2 days. Since it was winter, the heat was running nearly 24/7 and the smoke was wafting up from the vents. Our apartment and all our belongings began to reek with smoke. We contacted the landlord because we had signed for a bloody non-smoking apartment. He told us we lived in a state where you could technically call an apartment non-smoking even if it shared ventilation with a smoking apartment. FU leasing laws. At this point, my 2 roommates were heading out for a 2-week vacation. They were online students while I was residential, leaving me alone in the apartment with the demon smoker in the basement. I could not sleep or eat because my idiotic stomach decided to react to all the secondhand smoke by aching and cramping constantly. After 3 days, I was a little insane. I made a plan. I checked the forecast, lows in the 20s all week. I borrowed a friend's ultra-insulated sleeping bag. I bought one of those ski masks with the holes for your eyes and mouth. I got out my stocking cap, my silk-long underwear, my woolen socks and my down parka. I bought tea, hot cocoa and ramen and prepared to live off a diet of hot liquids. And I turned off the effing heat. Day 1, she's screaming at her mother for forcing her to move into this frozen crap hole of an apartment. Day number 2, she's screaming at her boyfriend, meth dealer, because he won't let her move in with him. Day number 3, she's screaming at the landlord about how she is effing freezing. Day number 4, the landlord is at my door. I greet him in full ski mask, parka, stocking cap array, looking like I'm heading out to rob Santa Claus at the North Pole. He asks me if I don't find it a little chilly in the house. I reply I had found all the cigarette smoke a little warm. Day number 5, she's screaming about "the witch is upstairs" to anyone who will listen, and I'm sitting upstairs clutching my car keys and my pepper spray with 9/11 typed into my phone. She finally decides she's effing leaving and moving in with Greg, even though he just got out for stabbing Travis and he lives in that effing creepy house in the woods with all those a-hole biting dogs. Day number 6, she's gone. I silently bless Greg. Moral of the story, there's a bloody reason the rent seems too good to be true. PS, for those wondering, I did have a friend who worked plumbing stop by to give me some advice about how long I could go before I burst the water pipes to hell and back. And ripe stars, unfortunately we have already reached the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content. However, if you cannot wait for more ripe content, then I suggest you head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where you can find more exclusive Reddit content read by me. Patreon subscriptions start at just $1 per month, and for $1 your name will show up at the end of each of my new videos. However, if you are willing to spend $3 per month, you will get access to more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos, mostly just no mother-in-law stories. However, please understand, I don't want to pressure anyone into spending money, because I am already incredibly grateful that you watch my videos every single day. Thank you so much for your daily support, it really means the world to me, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for the next video.